Hey guys, this is SF and a new series is here. Olympians, they're all gods, they're all deities. Caught me by a little bit by surprise, even though I knew the event dungeons that were coming up were ascent materials for this series. Why? Because they were. This is a really recent, kind of pretty recent. They're about 2 to 3 months old in Japan. As you can see, let me see. Let's see where we are, like the last series. Last series was not samurais. It was here, Valhalla. So like Freyr, Verdandi, Yugu, Baldur, Loki, and then these are the ascent materials for them. Next up was supposed to be Egyptians, so Oshis, Anubis, Isis, Ra, Horus, ascent materials, some event stuff. Then there are devils, Satan, stuff like that, ascent materials. The devils came in last summer, well, this year's summer. So about 3 months old. And then there are ninjas, assembly materials and stuff like that. And then there are Indians, probably September or October. And then here we are at the current stage. There's also a some version of Ugnamut, but when they come out I'm not sure. So we skipped about 4 batches of monsters, so that caught me a little bit by surprise. And yeah, but there are 5 monsters, 1 for each color, 3 5 stars and 2 4 stars. So going just like the other videos, going with the 4 stars first in order from top to bottom. Let's go with the first one, Fire Aphrodite. Let's just look at the Evolve version. There's no point of really talking about the pre-evolve versions. Saves me a lot more time and breath. But no gravity barrier. Stats are pretty mediocre, but has a lot of speed. Strike shot is a speed up when you hit an ally. So the ally gets the speed up. And volatile blast for the bump combo. This is basically the speed up version of Dear Lota. Instead of powering up your allies, you speed them up. So depending on the dungeons, it could be a good choice, but usually you don't need speed up for a lot of things. Maybe if you're going with the Roma, you might want to speed them up so you can get to your allies fast, better. And Roma's strike shot also speeds them up a bit as well, so you can go really crazy fast. And she is also fire, so works pretty well with Roma in terms of wood dungeons. Although status or stats are pretty low, I think she's the best with Roma. Well, that's the best optimal situation for her. I'm not saying that only bring her when if you have a Roma, but any other monsters is pretty good as well. Oda, like stuff like hitting your ally and then moving them is pretty good. So Oda's not bad. What else is there? Wildcat, Mustang, stuff like that. And Volatile Blast is the same as Dear Lota as well. So she is not a bad support. She is an okay support. If I compare her with Dear Lota, I would choose Dear Lota for obvious reasons. But if you have a Roma or something that requires a lot of speed to activate their full potential, then she is very useful. And she is also piercing, so she can hit multiple allies at the same time for 1 strike shot. But that is Aphrodite. The second 4-star is Hermes. Sorry if I butcher their English names because I'm very used to their Japanese pronunciations. Not that I'm Japanese, I'm used to saying, since I can read Japanese, I'm used to saying their Japanese pronunciations. Hermes evolved form. So no gravity barrier and shield breaker, but a bounce type. Speed is very high as well. She is, in terms of shield breakers, would I take her over like Jupiter or Galahad or Cuts Kaishu? In a general sense, I would probably take her. Wait, let me rephrase that. Let me think about that. In a general sense, I probably won't take her, but especially in the early ones where you see like shields around the enemies and shields around the boss and stuff like that. But in stuff with a lot of heavy gravity barrier, which is a lot, I can't really remember any descent. There were some that required a lot of, that has a lot of gravity barriers, but she is pretty good because she's a bounce type. That the piercing shield breakers are a lot easier to use, but if you're good at angles and stuff, maybe she's better, especially with the no gravity barrier. And her speed is probably higher than like Galahad and Jupiter if you max plus her. I think Galahad and Jupiter doesn't go over 400 speed when you max plus her, when you max plus them. But why also, it really depends, because bounce types, the shield breakers also does a high percent, does an okay multiplier towards drones. So if you just bounce off walls or bounce off enemies onto drones with the drones, then you can probably break them up very easily. As the drones around the bosses aren't really hard to destroy, but like stuff that gives out damage walls have really high HP. So she's kind of like a 2-for-1, but not really good in the overall sense of the game. Strike shot is a speed up, and it is and it does a lot of damage to, it does a lot of hits for the enemy when you hit the enemy. I'm not really sure how many hits this is, why this is kind of okay, or like what's the reasoning behind this strike shot, and what's the point of this strike shot is that this game when you get over a certain threshold of hits, items come out easier, just like how when you hit a boss into the weak spot, there's sometimes like that glowy little thing on where the weak spot is, and then an item shows up. It's basically the same theory, where once you get a lot of hits, and I'm talking about like 100 plus, not like 50, 60 hits. When you go above 100, there are a higher chance of getting items that pop out outside the walls and stuff. So maybe you can get lucky when you hit them. And she has a high speed, and she won't get really screwed over with no gravity barrier. So maybe she's a okay pick when you're really pressed for heals, or like you're about to die soon. And bump combo for piercing homing 6, not very strong, but that's only a 4-star. What else can you expect? But let's look at the 5 stars, starting off with Athena in Japanese. Let's look at the evolved version. So evolved version, ability is a fire resist, gauge is a no gravity barrier. Fire resist is on top of the attribute weakness thing. It is another third cut. So basically, the attribute decrease in terms of if you have the strength is 33%, so a third of the damage. And fire resist also reduced more of that. I think it's another third of that reduced third. I'm not really sure of the percentage, but I'm pretty sure it's not half. Stats are balanced. She's a balance type, so yeah. Not bad, not bad. Strike shot is the same as Audio and what's her name? Independence. And energy circle M. This is a new bump combo. It's basically a circle around a circle of energy around your ball around Athena. It does 3 instances of it, so 3 instances of 9,471. And in terms of energy circle, it's not directly around. It's not exactly. It's not like around the ball. It's around like a circle. It's like a circle in like an area where the center is your ball. But not bad, not bad. Let's look at the Ascend version. She loses her gauge of fire resist, no gravity, no damage wall for the ability for the Ascend version. Strike shot's the same. Bump combo is also the same with a sub of piercing 4. Stats are there's more power in there's more attack in terms more attack and less HP. My choice, of course, is going to be the Evolve version. Nothing really to say, but nothing really justification, but the fire resist is pretty good, and the homing piercing is not very useful. Why energy circle? Why she is okay? Because she's only okay in my opinion. Energy circle M does well against laser barriers. Since we skipped a lot of batches, there are laser barriers where one ways are pretty much useless, and cross lasers or EX lasers are pretty useless on them as well. And some dungeons have laser barriers around the whole boss. Energy circles does not care about them, so you can deal damage to mobs and bosses that have laser barriers around them. But she is an okay pick. But I think I'll get to my rankings of this batch at the end, but she is okay. She is cute. A lot of people go for like her because of art. Not really much about the stats and abilities and viability. But let's look at the next one, the green one, Hercules. Dragon Slayer for his pre-evolve, but nothing really. But it is a 5-6 star monster. You'll always go for the 6 star. You'll always go for the 6 star. Don't even if you get multiples, don't evolve don't keep one of them as a 5 star. Let's just say that. Well, I'm really bad at words, but still. This is the evolved version, no gravity barrier. HP he is a power, but his HP is very high. His attack 40k. His speed is not bad. Not bad for a bouncing type. If it's a piercing type, then it'll be a little bit awkward. But bounce is fine, especially with the no gravity barrier. He doesn't get slowed down. His strike shot is a knock up, bash and knock up, and EX laser L for his bump combo. Let's look at the Ascend version. Dragon Slayer, gauge of no gravity barrier. His attack goes way down. And then HP, speed are pretty much the same. Strike shot is a giant laser, just like Tiger. Bump combo is a EX laser L and homing destruction 4. My pick is the Evolve version. Although the Ascend version has a Dragon Slayer, has an extra ability, there's not much dungeons that have dragons, especially the ones in the future. There's earlier ones like Fireworm or Aquaworm and like Darkworm that are dragons, but they're not really useful. They're not really. You don't need a Dragon Slayer to beat them. Let's just say that. And they're pretty easy. And even future ones, there's not many dragon type monsters out there, so the Dragon Slayer ability is not that useful. And of course, the attack power is one of the main factors. 40k, where there are no pluses, you don't need a plus, so that's pretty good. I think he is one of the highest. I think if not the highest in terms of attack power. Let's look at attack power. Yep, he is on top, and there is a 10,000 difference between Hercules and Napoleon, and that is without pluses. Let's look at with pluses. Behemoth, the number that shows that Behemoth is 28,000 with pluses. Let's see with pluses on him. He goes to 38,000. Not bad, but he doesn't have ability, so and his speed is really crappy too. But Hercules, 41, the top dog in terms of attack power, and he's pretty useful. His strike shot is a knockup, bash and knockup. Since strike shot scales off with stats, his strike shot by himself can do 1,000,000 damage onto any enemy. If you hit onto any boss, if you hit the weak spot, it is pretty much an instant 1,000,000. Even if you miss a bit, if you miss, you could probably still get to about 800 to 900,000 on him, even on a fire monster. Well, probably not on a fire monster, but even like non-water monsters, you can probably get to 1,000,000. But his bulk of the damage, it is the knockup when he comes down. So even if you miss the weak spot, you still do a high amount of damage because the bulk of it is on when the monster comes down from the knockup. But that is Hercules. Let's look at the last one, Hades. Let's look at the evolved version. No gravity barrier as Samurai Slayer. Strike stats are pretty okay. Not as crazy as Hercules, but he has higher speed than Hercules. So as a bounce type, it's pretty okay. No gravity barrier, Samurai Slayer. Strike shot is when you hit the weak spot of a boss or an enemy, it will paralyze them. It is a 2-turn paralyze, including the turn that you hit, including the turn that you use the strike shot. So you get one free. You get one free turn after. Homing Destruction 8 for bump combo. Let's look at the Ascend version. Stats wise, he has higher stats overall compared to Evolution. No gravity barrier, loses to Samurai Slayer. Strike shot's the same, and a homing 8 included with his homing destruction. My choice is the Ascended version. There's just like Hercules, there's not many monsters out there that are samurais. Only the Momotaro series, Momotaro Isenboshi, stuff like that are samurais. So only those are the only samurai dungeons out there. Not really sure, but like I said, you can probably get by without Samurai Slayers. And the Ascended version is pretty good for normal dungeon farming. And I think he's a better pick in my opinion for Odin if you're using like for just in terms of the bump combo. Strike shot wise, Odin is better for strike shots and stuff like that. But Hades for Hades does better in the bump combo department as well as the strike as well as stats. Odin's really slow. It's really slow. I don't really like Odin that much because of speed. Even with the no gravity barrier, it's not my cup of tea. Some people might say otherwise, but yeah. So I really like to talk about the strike shot a bit. So it paralyzes people when you hit the weak spot. So it's really hard to use, kind of hard to use. But what's the difference between a delay and a paralyzed? Just like Worlds, or I think Worlds is the only delay out there right now, but delay is where you delay the attack, the cooldown of the attacks for the enemy. Whereas stuns, the cooldowns still go down, but the enemy doesn't attack. So if you have a boss that has a cooldown of 1 left on his attack, Worlds time delay will turn that into 4 when you hit them. But for Hades, when you paralyze them, that 1 will go to 0, but the monster will not attack, and then the cooldown resets. Whether that's 2, 3, or 4, 5, 6, 7, I don't really know. It really depends. So there are some uses to that strike shot that's better than World, but his cooldowns for his strike shot is pretty long. 36, that's the longest in the game. World's only 30, I think, or 35. I think it's 30. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend, and especially you have to hit the weak spot. It's really hard, especially for a bounce character. If he was piercing, that would have been a lot better, but he has a bounce, so kind of hard. But let's look at my rankings. So that's my talk. I talked for about 20 minutes. Wow. But Aphrodite, Athena, Hercules, Hermes, and Hades. My order in those is number 1, Hercules. No question about it. His strike shot's pretty strong, and he's also very useful in Yamato Takeru, which is a 60 stem dungeon. He works. He's very viable. He's not like OP, but I think like in terms of Yamato Takeru, there's no like OP, like really OP, except for maybe Odo. But any no gravity barrier monsters that's green and it's a bounce type, then any of those can go into Yamato Takeru. So Hercules is really good. He can probably blow up a bar, except for the last one, or the second last one of Yamato Takeru. Number 2 is Athena. Fire resist is really good, but there is a giant gap, in my opinion, between Hercules and Athena. But a lot of people just like to go for her because of art, and she's really cute. Third one is Hades. He's only there for her normal dungeon farming. There's not much, and he also works well with scorpions. If you see my Shadow Drake video, there are scorpions, and homing is very good against them. But since it's random, it's kind of hard to hit those scorpions. And there's not much dungeons that have scorpions. There's a couple, but not like double-digit dungeons. Let's just say that. Number 4 is Aphrodite. Works very well with stuff like Roma or Mustang or Oda. Speed them up so that they can hit allies easier. And number 5, Hermes. Not much to say about that. The strike shot, even though I kind of praised the strike shot a bit, it's all random, it's all luck. Even if you use the strike shot, it doesn't absolutely 100% give you an item. But although Shield Breaker is pretty good, and no gravity barrier, but it's really niche. I think 1 or 2 dungeons she's okay at, but otherwise she is pretty much a sell. Aphrodite is kind of Aphrodite or above is a keep. Hermes you can probably sell for it. But that's it for me on the new series, Olympian Heroes. I'm not really sure, but I did talk a lot. But if you like it, then please subscribe. And also, if you have any questions about anything of Monster Strike related, then hit me up on comments or messages or anything like that. I might do a Q&A if there's enough questions. But yeah, I hope you guys like it and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.